ramp music is hitting especially hard today because it is Clasico weekend. Welcome to the Real Deal at Real Madrid podcast with me, Jarod Hector, joined by my guys, Xavier and Loconte. Fellas, one word to describe your feelings going into this weekend. Just one word. Xavier, you first.
Ecstatic.
Love it. Loconte, one word.
Yamal.
That took 5 seconds.
Since I'm the host, I'm going to cheat and use two words. Cautiously optimistic. All right, we got a big matchup this week.
That's
obviously.
I would have said Lamine.
Lamine Yamal, two words. Listen, Clasico, of course, the biggest fixture in world football coming up this weekend. And I want to just really quick off the bat. And look, we know there's clearly a pro-Barcelona agenda by a lot of the mainstream media, but it is wild to me how all I keep seeing on social and hearing from mainstream media is, will Barcelona continue their dominance over Real Madrid? And I'm like, yo, we won 4 in a row prior to this. And no one said shit about that. Like, what's the deal? Like, these things happen like that sometimes. Wild. Anyway, Barca's won 4 straight. The idea is, can they win their 5th to equal the record of Pep Guardiola? We'll get to all that shortly. First, some quick news and notes. Loconte, I want to start with you on this one because this is a player who you had high hopes for this season. And it's looking like he is going to be out on loan probably in January. And that is Mr. Endrick. Look, and I don't think it's a thing where it's like Madrid is like, Endrick sucks. It's just, as Xabi Alonso said, the competition to get minutes as an attacker on this squad right now, very high. And clearly, he is not doing enough to warrant playing time, right? That's the only thing I can take from this situation.
Feels bad. Looks like his camp are the ones making the decision. Will they deem it as reasonable? You know that I've held the stance that I'm against it. Like, there are a few loan spells which have left me scarred, including the Martin Odegaard one. I like to think that you develop players in-house, but players need to play. The best way to develop is playing. And clearly, Alonso just doesn't see enough to warrant giving him minutes ahead of a number of players on that offensive line. So January seems to be that. There was also the news that he wants to be very picky with the club. He wants a competitive club, preferably a team that plays in European competitions by that point. So he's holding himself to a high standard.
Which I like.
Kind of appreciate that. What I would send him, if you were to ask me, Como, like... I know
Como seems to be our spot. Como seems to be the spot for us, our players.
He already has his 2 buddies in there. Like, let's get a third one. Fabregas also seems to be like a very promising coach with some very good results. Seems to be able to get like good output from his attackers. So again, I'm disappointed by it. I think Endrick would have fit the mold really well of that right-hand side, but I don't think that this Madrid is playing the way how I expected it to play before we kicked the ball with Alonso. Yeah. If this was Club World Cup Madrid, I would say still stand a chance, but with this current Madrid, I don't think so.
Yeah. What about you, Xavier?
Yeah, the Endrick situation, it's, man, this is a tough one because I was so hot. Like, I believe his talent is top notch. I believe if deployed right, if he develops correctly, can be one of the best players in the world in terms of just pure talent. I will never forget the goals he was scoring at 15 years old for Brazil, the overhead kick in particular, right? I mean, the goals he was scoring in Palmeiras, even the year, before he came to Madrid. I saw that talent. I saw him in the Copa del Rey last year. He was the Pichichi until the final where Ferran Torres equaled him and then won it because they won the tournament by default. He's got the talent and it's there. It's just unfortunate that he plays behind a player that needs to be on the field for 95% of the available minutes as long as he's healthy, and that's Kylian Mbappe. And that's unfortunate for any player who's behind Mbappe, is that you're just not going to play. And it happens in football when you have that level of a talent, when you have a Messi, a Ronaldo, and Mbappe. These guys are just going to play no matter how good you are. And unless Endrick proves that he's better, which he has an opportunity to go do out on loan, he's not going to get the fair chance to prove his talent here at Madrid. So therefore, he's got to go out on loan. The one thing I don't like is they're starting to be a little picky about what team you go to, put certain conditions around it. For me, you still haven't necessarily proven yourself in Europe, in my opinion, to put conditions around your loan to that extent. I like the idea that he's challenging himself, but the idea that you're now trying to cherry pick a club, it's like you're 19 years old. You haven't really proven yourself as a starter yet. Yes, you might be talented, but I would also pump the brakes on this. I'm going to cherry pick my next club because he cherry picked his way to Real Madrid and hasn't proven himself. So that's the one element of it that I got to take into consideration. But overall, the move makes sense. I support it. I believe in his talent as a player. I just hope that, he stays grounded and the loan does go well and get out of, to be honest, like I would rather see him leave in the winter time rather than wait until the summer.
Yeah, look,
I think it's a January move.
Yeah, January move. That's a fair take, Xavier, and I don't really disagree with what you said. The one thing, as Loconte said, and I will agree with, I give him props for challenging himself and wanting to put himself in a situation to play for a team that plays in Europe. Obviously, it's also a World Cup season, and he wants a chance to impress Ancelotti so he can play for Brazil as well. That's a big part of this. So look, I respect him for wanting to push himself at the top level and be in all of those things, right? Go, bro. Like, look, the common, or the thing that most fans don't understand is if you're going to make it as a professional athlete in any sport, you have to have a healthy amount of ego or else you won't make it. You'll fucking get crushed, all right? Because these are the best people in the world at what they do. So if you don't believe in yourself, you have zero chance. You will not make it. So number one, happy for him on that. The second piece is, again, as Loconte said, and I've said all the time, players need playing time like they need oxygen to breathe. You cannot develop sitting on the bench or in training. That you need to go into the fire, fuck up a million times, and be like, all right, this is how, because you need those real live reference points. That is how you get better. And he's not going to get the chance to do that here, clearly. I mean, even let's say he stayed, the most he would get is maybe Copa del Rey. And that's just not enough for him at this point to start developing into what he wants to be. So if there's a chance for him to go to Como or Benfica or Porto or wherever to get playing time, great. So we can see what you do. So I'm rooting for him. Obviously, no doubt Madrid will do all the right things to make sure the loan is with the right buyback numbers and this, that, and the third, so that everything works out in their best interest for sure. And hey, it might be a situation where he develops so well, they say, we can sell him really high for X, whatever they decide. I generally trust them, but I hope he has the opportunity to develop and come back here and play because I enjoy this kid and I'm a fan of his talent and ability. We also had that report come out from The Athletic and Mario Cortegenia about just, Xavi's time here and some of the challenges inside the Madrid dressing room and, after the Atleti loss, which was, obviously the one loss of the season and easily our worst game, some conversations between the older players on the team talking to the younger players. And they said it was a very frank conversation amongst everybody about what they did wrong and what wasn't happening. But some of the older players being upset about the mentality of the younger players. And I always hate when these things come out like this because I'm like, okay, which older players? And how do you define old? Okay, I know Courtois, Carvajal, and Rudiger, they're old, right? Right? Like, were they the ones? And who were the young people they were mad at? Dean, Carreras? Technically, Vinny's young, right? Do you know what I'm saying? So I hate when these silly reports come out because you don't have the full context of who said what to whom. And look, honestly, I'm of the belief, having been around the NBA a long time, what players say amongst each other in the locker room, that's none of our fucking business anyway. So, whatever. I don't care. Let them hash out what their issues are and let them show what they need to show on the field or on the court the next time they show up. What say you guys?
I mean, there was that report of Modric insulting Lucas like it doesn't happen, or when people made a big deal out of Jude just telling Schultz that you're shit at football, which he was right. And basically, it's just a normal sense that after bad results, somebody's going to lash out. They take that day off. Actually, I was having a discussion with the coach right today, and it was because Atleti is our glaring loss of the season. And we were talking about the differences of Ancelotti and Alonso. Ancelotti usually would have given them the day off, or they would have traveled immediately to Kairat. Alonso took them to training in the morning, and then they flew out to play. So, do I think that there was a bit of tension? Yes. In terms of the article, we just don't need to pay attention to that because it's a lot of nothing. It's a piece written in words that says nothing. If you're reading it, there's no like message between in there, hidden somewhere, where Mario is trying to kind of do smart journalism, I guess. There's nothing in there. It's just, some older players were mad at younger players because the younger players gave up. We don't know who the younger players were. The older players seemed just as lost on that game. So it just doesn't make sense. There is no way for us to tie up any of that together.
I agree.
Yeah, for me, I think it's more about optics with this one. I think looking at the Clasico happening on Sunday, I think Mario wanted to get ahead of the narrative.
No doubt.
Get some clicks off throughout the week, knowing that the Clasico was building. If you put a report out like this, specifically 5 days before a Clasico, it's going to get folks talking. He wanted to kind of get it. There was also no major talking points from a Madrid standpoint besides the fact that we haven't beat them because there hasn't been any controversy in the locker room so far this year. Yes, we had the bad result to Atleti, but I look at more of the timing of when the article came out versus like the substance of what's in that article. Right. To your point, Loconte, I agree with everything you said. It's a whole lot of nothing. So for me, it's like, okay, if you're reporting a whole lot of really nothing, why are you dropping this on a Tuesday before the Clasico?
Right. A month ago now already? 3 weeks ago, the Atleti match was. Why didn't you say it then? Right?
Yeah.
And also,
you guys have been around sports a long time. And that's where I'm like, okay, so the timing of it, it's like, all right, for 5 days before the Clasico, Mario wanted to get his clicks off for the Athletic. That's what I look at it as.
The commentator here said that Rudiger is going to leave in January because he fought with Bellingham after that. No news of that, nothing of that. He just goes there and just spits it out whenever Jude gets the ball. And I'm like, where the hell did he get that? Then I see that some random website on the internet with like nothing on it, literally, where they just went like, Rudiger and Bellingham fought after a Derby Madrileno. And I'm like, this guy didn't even do his research. Probably got like a notification or something and just went like, yeah, Rudiger is leaving in January because he fought with Jude Bellingham. And I'm like, okay, you should not be saying that. But again, I'm saying like the reason of articles like this is people gullible like that are going to fall part of it because they've never really read much into what's going on, let alone understand
they've never been around a professional sports team. Folks, newsflash, those of you who haven't, after losses, this shit happens all the fucking time. Like all the time. These are the most competitive people in the world. When they lose, they're pissed and they yell at each other. Shit happens. Like whatever.
Yeah. Simple as that.
No, nobody likes to lose, especially on that level, on the high competitive level. They're just gonna be like shouting to one another, "Why did you do this? Why did you do that?" Next morning, they're just gonna have a handshake, probably.
Yeah, they're gonna be fine. Go out the next day, and we're fine. Yeah,
high level professional sport, people just kind of seems to completely eradicate the psychological impact that such things can have. Like these guys are not at the highest level because they're soft. They are there because they have had to go through the grueling growing pains of every little thing that happens. Imagine you're an 18 years old getting shouted on by a legend, right? And you have to pull through that. You have to understand from it. Like, let's take Vinicius, for example. Vinicius was completely frozen by Zidane for like 2 months because he wasn't performing. But here he is. Like, should have been a Ballon d'Or winner, but here he is. Like, I'm just giving a Madrid-only example. I'm not saying Zidane shouted at him. I'm saying Zidane.
Oh, I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did it many times. Shouted at him. I'm sure.
Yeah. But what I know is the fact that Vini didn't play for 2 months, not even 1 minute during that period, and that tells me that Vini was doing a lot of things wrong. which Zidane was not like. Therefore, he was just allowed to grow, and we need to show mental strength to get out of that and get back on the pitch. So that's one example. I think that we're giving Mario and those type of articles, to be honest, a bit too much attention.
Later, Mario. Okay, folks, Clasico. Sunday. Big one. At home, at the Bernabeu. It's going to be rocking. Oh, my God. So much. I want to start here. After the Juve game, of course, all the questions were about, they started switching towards Barca, right? I mean, for all the obvious reasons. Lost four in a row to them last year, all the things, right? So are we going to be better? I liked sort of the message coming out from many of the players after. Courtois was like, we need to be tactically ready and prepared. We're in a good moment. A lot of them said we want to continue that against Barcelona. Xabi Alonso said, we know this is not a normal game. It's been circled in red on our calendar. So they're not shying away from the moment. This is something I said to you guys after Atleti. And we'll get to the tactics. But first and foremost, I want their mindsets to be right from, forget about opening whistle, from fucking yesterday. I wanted their minds to be right and ready so that come Sunday, there'll be no question about effort or, when adversity hits, they all unravel. Because guess what? It's a Clasico. Adversity is going to hit, right? How do you respond when Loconte? This is what I said, right? Loconte, a few shows ago. When adversity hits, how is his team going to respond? It didn't look so great against Atleti when adversity hits. When it hits on Sunday, how are they going to look? And we won't know that, obviously, until Sunday. But this is the area where I'm looking at, is what their mentality is going to be like. All right, let's get into first whom we think the starting 11 will be. I think we did it last time. Nobody has guessed right once this season, right? It's just so I know it's a fool's errand. I know, but listen, we'll try. The question I don't know
number
is,
9.
well, we know Courtois is playing, and we know Mbappe's playing. We know that. Actually, we know more than that. Here's the question I'll ask. I'll ask it this way: do you think Xabi is going to start the 18-year-old Franco Mastantuono on the right side?
Oh,
because that's the one. Because that's the spot.
I mean, Franco sat the last game, so you would imagine.
That's why I think, but I don't know.
But
he's also 18 in his first Clasico. I don't know.
But I wouldn't be so sure of that. I'm 60-40, but I say no.
Okay, what say you, Xavier?
Well, given that I have his jersey on, I'm hoping that he starts on Sunday for sure. That's one of the reasons why
I rock the jersey.
But listen, Xavi's confused us every game. I've said it's been an experiment after an experiment after an experiment, hoping to get the right formula together here. And I know Loconte is going to get into each individual thing he's done that hasn't been an experiment, building towards continuity. But for me, on the outside looking in, as the casual that I am in this sport, what I'll say is, if Franco starts, I'll feel a little bit better that we're going to have more of a presence on the right-hand side versus a Brahim or even a Rodrigo. I didn't really love Brahim's cameo in the last game. He tried hard, don't get me wrong, but you can see the limitations and it's clear as day, right? So for me, I do hope that Franco starts.
Shameless funnel. Me and Sid did a full breakdown of that on Wednesday. Shameless funnel. You guys can go and read about it.
So please go watch that podcast ASAP.
Definitely do that. Okay, so we know because of our limited center back situation, it's going to be Militao and Asensio starting at center back. I'm pretty sure, because I doubt Housen and is going to start when he hasn't played in 2 weeks.
No, I mean, do we have center backs?
Oh,
we have too many.
We have Militao.
Don't forget,
we got Militao. Militao's one. we have Militao. That's one.
2 ACLs.
Who's playing well this season, right? But
he's playing well.
My fear is that we're putting too much on him.
And who's playing next to Asensio on his right hand side? I guess.
I think it's going to be Valverde at right back again, right? What do you guys think?
Nah, I think Dean Housen is going to start.
You think so? Even
Yeah,
without
I would
not
say.
playing with not playing Juve this week, you think you'll start him?
Yes, I mean he already hinted at it on
Okay.
Tuesday when
We
he
need
went
him.
like, "Will I play on Sunday?" Well, I already know, but I'm not gonna tell you. So I think that basically some painkillers and get on that.
We need him. And
rub
I think
rub some dirt
Loconte
on it.
knows just as much. Like,
Rub some
we
dirt on it,
need
Dean.
Dean. We at least
I think they're gonna do that. Like, I know that Alonso has been very cautious with players' health. You can
Yeah.
see like the smallest niggle of injury just goes like out.
Mhm.
Like, he doesn't test the waters with the injuries. Like, he doesn't put the players back on. But I think that on this case, on the current situation, he's gonna have to, because then we have like 6 days of reshuffling until Valencia. So I think Dean is
So
going to
let's
play.
start at center again. So Housen, Militao. So now who plays right back? Valverde.
Yes.
Okay, and obviously Carreras at left back. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think obviously it's going to be Tchouaméni, Arda, and Bellingham in the midfield. I don't really see him doing anything different there. What say you?
Not a bit risky, but
that's a bit.
I agree,
Yeah,
but I Arda's not. He's not setting Arda, right? I don't think he's setting Arda.
no, he's not sitting Arda. But the reason why I had Franco sitting is because I think he's going with that Tchouaméni and Camavinga double pivot.
Oh, and then you think Bellingham's going to be in that
Yeah, Bellingham and Arda are basically
hybrid,
going to
right?
free
Whatever.
flowing. Sometimes he's a striker. Sometimes he's your defensive midfielder. Sometimes
Basically, they're being used as spinners, right? They keep pinning the center backs and open the gaps for Mbappe and Vini to run into. And what's a better team to do that than Barcelona? Like, this is my thought process. And I believe that Valverde is more than good enough to hold the flank on his own, because we have seen him do that.
We have. And to your point, you said this before, Loconte, when he's on the right, when he's playing right back and has to do that, he's very, because it limits what he has to think about and do, right?
Yes.
It gets to utilize what he's very good at. Which is, Interesting. And then obviously the other two.
I'll get a little bit more, but we're going with the flow. I'll get a little bit more.
Yeah, no. That is okay. Would you, as Patrice is asking, would you say that is our best lineup right now?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think Camavinga allows us to do much more as he put him in the double pivot with Tchouaméni because of his line breaking ability, his amazing work rate, defensive capabilities. Like, I think he can exploit Barcelona in ways that we don't have a profile that really can do that.
I'll get deeper, but they just suffocate the middle of the pitch so well to the point where it's inaccessible for any team when these two are together. They just suffocate that completely. And it's just, okay, no entry point. It's literally like you're trying to get out of the house by a wall because there's no door.
Well, Xavier, you had some Tchouaméni concerns. So how do you like the Tchouaméni Camavinga double pivot?
I have a little bit of a hesitation around it. I like it on paper, right? I think like all logic on paper, when I think about it in my head, like it all makes sense. I just haven't seen it on the field. And this is my issue with that double pivot is Getafe. That's a little bit of a different quality than what we're going against
Is it?
on Sunday. And
look at it. Is it?
No, because I would rather play Barca than Getafe away, and be honest.
There's a spin merchant that wears number 8. If you give him 5 seconds on the ball, he's gonna kill you. Which I know you're talking about how they suffocate, but my issue, I guess, with that lineup is our best counter presser. Correct me if I'm wrong. At least for me, is Fede Valverde. Like, when we lose the ball, I think Fede is the single point in our midfield who helps us or is capable of getting the ball
not
back
Jude.
as fast as
I think Jude's a pretty good counter presser. I think Jude's a pretty good counter presser.
Because Jude is oftentimes, though, coming from he's up the field more compared to like our midfielders in general, right? And that's where I think Fede is important, because typically when we turn that ball over, Jude is essentially coming off someone's shoulder, so he's able to use his ability, of course, right? You need the ability to do it. Whereas with Fede, he's always facing where the ball is almost being turned over at. And that's where I think he's so important to that counter press in the midfield and us being able to win the ball back quickly. When you add a Jude to a Fede, to a Tchouaméni, to a Camavinga in that midfield, you now have 4 monsters, right? Essentially, of that counter press.
Those are 4 elite duel winners. Those right, those dudes can
right,
win
right, exactly, and they can use a variety of tools. They each have a specific skill set that kind of stands out from each other in that sense, but they all have this elite ability to help us win the ball back quickly. My thing with Fede is he also has this quickness about him where like he literally can cover spaces at an incredible level that I think people don't give him enough credit for. And when you have a Tchouaméni Camavinga double pivot, I'll bring it back to that piece. I need to see it more, and I need to see it at a high level against high level competition for me to be fully convinced about it. I love it on paper, but I haven't seen it in a Clasico up to this point. So I'm going to be a bit nervous that, Pedri and a Frankie are going to be able to pass the ball right through that. Right. And that's kind of my concern with those two in particular.
Are they going to be able to?
We'll see.
Pedri and Frankie can, right? The question is, has Madrid gotten to the point where when they're pressing, their lanes and their assignments and spacing is correct so that Pedri and Frankie cannot make those passes now because we've shut down those lanes?
That's my concern right now. At this point in time of where the team is. Now, do I think by patterns of repetition, they can get better throughout the season? Yes, but it doesn't help when the coach has also been reshuffling every single player, essentially bar Kylian Mbappe throughout the entire 11, right? Besides Mbappe and Courtois, no one else has played every game. So we haven't had time to build that continuity either. So essentially it is another experiment if you go with that lineup, right?
This is interesting, Loconte. I love your thoughts here. I love the fact that Xabi rotates because it's a long season and guys need to be fresh. However, when you are implementing a new system, yes, I know preseason. When you're implementing a new system, you do need some level of continuity, right? So you can build habits with each other. So does that concern you that enough of the 11 haven't played consistent enough minutes together to get the concepts down right?
I mean, look, normally we go on paper, right? Because we don't really know what's happening on the training ground. For all we know, there's a curveball and Brahim Diaz is suddenly a starter. For all we know, because Alonso is seeing things that we just don't.
If Brahim starts tomorrow,
I might start to get worried if he starts Brahim.
Xavier might lose his mind if Brahim starts tomorrow.
No, I'm just kidding.
Look, I'm just saying that repetition is utterly hard and impossible in those circumstances. Injuries happen constantly. Like, not all rotations have been made solely because he wants to test players. There's been a lot of injuries. Like the last 2 games, biggest concern was the build-up. How are we going to build up without Dinhausen and Carreras as the main guy who's going to take a responsibility out there? Because when we had those two, it was a lot easier to penetrate teams. But with just one of them, well, as we saw in the last 2 games, there's a bit too much on Carreras' play to be able to invert, push forward, then having his roles changed constantly in order to fit. So it's for the coach, I'm giving Alonso just the benefit of the doubt here that in terms of to create a repetitive scheme, you need the players to repetitively play, but it's impossible to repetitively play them because you have a game every 3 days with international break constantly killing your continuity. So Alonso is kind of sitting at this point of Pep at Bayern first season, where you can see that things are being laid out, but he still doesn't fully know how far he can take the team as it currently stands because he needs to test those players in different positions. I think that now he's found out that Vini is just better if he's floating. Like you're seeing Vini floating a lot more. That is opening a whole new attacking dynamic. Now he has to figure out how is Jude going to be with this 11. Now he has to figure out how are we going to deal with the turnovers that come from the right side. Let it be Franco Mastantuano or Brahim Diaz. Both are very turnover prone. Different ways, but both are very turnover prone. Turnovers lead to transitions. How is the midfield set up, dealing with the transitions and the quick attacks, the pops? How are the jumps going to happen? Are there players that are going to be late on them? For example, the Juventus game, Asensio was late in majority of the jumps to Kenan Yildiz because he was too afraid that Vlahovic might just run in behind him. Therefore, he was giving them an option. So all of these things tie up one to another. And normally, the way how I perceive El Clasico is mitigation of these minor things. It's not about the big picture on that game of the tactical scheme. It's more about what players are going to mitigate some of the problems. Derby Madrileno just kind of did tell me that he believes that 11 specifically, or those type of players, are the players that are going to give him the highest security on and off the ball. It didn't go perfectly for a variety of reasons. By the way, if you go back and watch the film, it's not as bad as the scoreline does show. The ideas are there. The execution is pretty poor, but the ideas are there, and you can see what he's trying to do. And this team to that team are vastly different. And we're going to say this month in and out because the team is developing. So leading into an El Clasico, it's a very hard predicament to make that you can survive turnovers and that a midfielder is going to be able to do two players' jobs in order to win on the ball back against some of the highest technical quality players. So that's why I lean towards Alonso taking a more cautionary approach into an El Clasico.
So it's interesting that you go there, right? You talked about taking a more conservative approach given how the Derby Madrileño went, right? Where you maybe tried to be aggressive. In last year's, the first one at the Bernabeu, the Clasico, where Mbappe got called offside 8 times.
Yes.
Right? The high line was a record. The high line was a big conversation, right? And Barca's high line was better last year, clearly. Anybody who watched them last year versus this year can see that. Correct. And that's the absence of Inigo Martinez, who led that. Now he's not there. And so they are much more vulnerable, as we've seen this year. They lost to Sevilla this year, right? 4-1, if I'm not mistaken, was the score of that match. And the coach 4-2. Oh, he said, I've studied Barcelona for years. Every team that sits back and waits ends up losing 98% of the time. You have to look for other ways to beat them. And so I was thinking about that, and Opta Analysis had a really good article about this. And they said in the 3 matches where Barca struggled this season, they recorded fewer than 10 sequences of 10-plus passes. In every other game, they had at least 15 such sequences. So that ability to stop them from doing that play on the ball they love to do is the question. Now, that requires you to be aggressive on your press. However, we just talked about, right, how aggressive do we want to be? So the question now is, we're going to press at some point during the how much, and then when we don't, what are we looking like out of possession when we are not pressing?
Well,
this is very hard, right? Because it depends on Barca's 11 to begin with. Because my predicted Barca 11 is the fact that Hansi Flick is definitely going to be afraid of that high line, but he's not going to give up on it.
No, he can't, right? They have no other way to play.
That he starts Araujo. Yeah, he starts Araujo to mitigate that. Probably starts Cubarsí and Balde, and it's a battle between Koundé and Eric Garcia. And I think Eric Garcia is actually going to win that battle for Sunday.
He's been playing better than Koundé this year.
He's less prone to be beaten.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been better, but also he's less prone than Koundé to be beaten 1v1. And if Madrid can find Vinicius there, well, good luck to them, basically. So my theory was the fact that Ferran Torres, I think, is back for them, but I don't know what his fitness levels are going to be.
Torres back, no Lewandowski, no Olmo, no Rafinha.
So I thought that my idea of Flick and the way how he sees it is the fact that he's going to want to battle that midfield with the midfield. So it's going to be like Marc Casado, Pedri, and Frenkie de Jong. I think that this is where Pedri gets pushed up a little bit. And they play with Fermin on the inside of the left. They play with Rashford as a number 9. And they play with Lamine Yamal on the right side.
Right.
So if my guess is correct on the level, then that's your go-to in order to press them. You press them, you make them uncomfortable, and you don't let them breathe. You foul a lot. Like, that's one of my key points. I've always made it clear you need to foul. And we're seeing an increase in our fouls, right? Like, there was a point against Getafe where we had 0, and then we went to 9. The moment when Getafe started to get hold of the game a little bit, we just went like, nope, momentum broken, restart. So that's a smart thing to do. You need to foul a lot if you're beat. And on the way how you approach that is the fact that there's only one fair. What if the ball goes to Rashford in behind Militao and Dinhausen? Because this is where you're going to have a disadvantage. Vlahovic beat Militao last time, and I'm not sure what the difference is, but I would imagine Marcus Rashford is slightly bit quicker than Dusan Vlahovic. That's for sure. Even though Vlahovic for number 9 in that size is a pretty quick player.
He's not Rafinha, but he's
going
fast.
to run into that. Yes. So another thing is Barcelona people hate me for this. I've pointed this since the beginning. No surprise that they look better without Lamine Yamal than with him. Because Lamine Yamal is too turnover prone. He is too turnover prone, and people need to accept that. That kid loses the ball in every area of the pitch and gives you a free transition against that line every single time. And or study it. Is he a quality footballer that does incredible things? Yes. But is he also hurtful to the team on this flick setup? Just as much as a big quality as he has. There is zero shock to me that their worst results, worst performances have had him on the pitch. PSG game, he did that minute 1, whatever the hell we want to call that, dusted for the rest of it. Loses the ball, loses the duel, doesn't track back. The right back is put in bad positions. Of course, you don't want him to track back because you want him to sustain the energy. But when you're that high turnover prone, then you have to. But he doesn't. So you need to let that happen. As crazy as it sounds, I think Alonso's plan is simply going to be like, okay, we need to push Barca to accelerate the game and get the ball to Lamine Yamal as quickly as possible.
Interesting.
If I'm judging Alonso correctly, I think this is what he wants to do. He wants to get Lamine Yamal on the ball as quickly as possible. He doesn't want to let Barca rotate the ball, shift the block across. He wants to let Lamine Yamal get the ball.
So he wants to be heliocentric ISO ball, right? He wants them to play heliocentric ISO ball to steal a basketball term.
Yeah, ISO. You want that, right? And that's crazy, but it sounds crazy to tell somebody. It's,
of course it is.
Like what Golden State did to Lakers last game. Let me take this. Third quarter,
do whatever.
Golden State just went like, okay, can deal with Luka Doncic. You know what? I can stop the rest of these. Let the guys score.
That's
and you saw how comfortable it was for them.
That's the key to heliocentric ball. Look, these are the best players in the world. So stopping, to use it to go to basketball, stopping Luka or these guys is not easy. However, if you know the entire offense is just that, well, your job is. It makes your job that much easier. The rest of these dudes ain't doing shit. We just got to worry about that guy. So to your point, no circulating the ball, no passing with you, just him. That's all we have to worry about. Take the other 9 outfield players out of the way, and we just worry about him. Yes, that's possible. What say you, Xavier?
I mean, we've seen Xabi Alonso's plans go up in flames in the PSG final and the Atleti game, and that's my concern. Is
you guys keep talking? I gotta step out for 2 seconds. Keep talking.
Yeah, for sure. But my issue, again, is I don't want to hear Thibaut Courtois interview post game and say these were Xavi's instructions. We just decided not to follow them. And that's been the concerning theme against the highest level of competition for far too long for the past 12 months.
Yes.
It's just we've had different tactics, we've had different coaches, right? We've had different game plans, and they just crumbled, right? We've had Mbappe score a hat trick against these guys and gave up 5. Like I need to see. maybe I need some shin kickers out there, right? Like, I don't know, but like, give me some passion. Give me puro pasión out there. And I'm gonna feel a lot more confident that the press might sustain, that we actually might be able to take the ball from them. Finish your chances, be clinical. That's another thing we don't talk about. I saw that it was a foot mob comparison between Erling Haaland and Mbappe, and the conversion percentage stood out quite a lot to me. I'm sure you saw that, Loconte. Erling Haaland's at like 89% conversion percentage, and Mbappe's at 66%. I can't have a 66% Mbappe on Sunday, right? I need him to be clinical, score 2 out of 5 shots, not 2 out of 11. I don't need 8 offsides. Another thing I think maybe I'm sick and tired of hearing about is this high line. I think the high line might be in our players' heads by this point. They go out and play Barca, like, all we got to do is take advantage of the high line and we win the game, And it's like, forget the high line. Go out and play good football, win the game, show intensity. My other concern is Fermin is going to be starting. Who's going to match the intensity of Fermin in the midfield? Because he's going to bring the energy. He's going to bring the hatred. If I watch him go up on the screen and do the Jude Bellingham celebration in front of our crowd again, I'm going to lose my mind, right? And that all comes back down to bring the passion, because to your point, Loconte, I think Xavi's going to be clear with his instructions, where he wants the ball to be, what zones to cover, who should be counter pressing in what zones, where you should be forcing to turn left, right? Be a spin top merchant so Jude can come in and make the second tackle, do those things. But here's the problem. If you don't bring the intensity, all that goes right out the window, like we saw against PSG, like we saw against Atletico de Madrid. We saw Carreras play like he had 2 right feet. We saw Dean think he was overconfident. We saw Arda take an overconfident touch, get turned over, quick goal. Like, those things happen when you don't come in focused, when you don't bring the intensity. And this has been, and I said it before the Atleti game, my biggest issue with these big matchups has been, how on earth can I start to break down the game when I'm watching my players literally look like they don't know how to touch a football? like what are we doing here, right? And that's I think the frustrating part about like most of these matchups. Yes, we've had a chance in some of the Clásicos, right? We fought a bit, but I can't see the defense crumble the way they have, right? You let Lamine Yamal dribble. I mean, yes, I like the Lamine ISO ball. If I had Ferland Mendy out there, right? If I had and I'm going to go with
Mendy's back. I don't know if he's playing, but Mendy's back.
I'm going to use an NFL reference real quick. Everybody knows what Revis Island used to be, right? Well, I used to say, don't go to Mendy Island, because one-on-one, you're not getting past them. I would be much more confident personally in seeing that happen on Sunday, but I know it's going to be Carreras. And guess what? Carreras has somewhat also looked shaky during certain games, especially in big moments so far for Real Madrid. So I need to see that intensity from
but he's alone.
Of course. But what I'm saying is my confidence level will go up if we come out from the beginning with the right intensity. But what I don't need to see is we're making slow passes. Camavinga's making slow passes, right? Tchouameni's not showing for the ball when he should be. Jude's lost, right? Up top, not tracking back. What I need to see is all of them locked into the game plan for 90 minutes and not 30 minutes, not 40 minutes. If we're going to choose to press for certain moments of the game, fine, I'm with you. We don't need to run like hooligans the whole game.
Be collected and be committed to it. Yeah, this is the stuff we talked about, right? And I think to that end, right, we can all admit that Barca has had some faulty play this year, right? Loconte, you said year 2 of Flick, you see it coming, right? But much like Atleti, they will turn up for this match specifically. So they will look like a completely different squad all of a sudden when they play us. It's like, whoa, how come last week you look like shit, but today you're playing intense, everybody's doing right. All of a sudden for this match, they will play well, right? Like, that's just how things work in terms of their focus and their mindset. So can we match that? Because if we match that, I do believe tactically Xabi has the right game plan and game idea, and we have the right players to overcome them. But both those things have to happen. The mindset has to be right to then execute whatever we're being asked to execute.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't agree with any of that, but I kind of disagree with the fact that these players don't want it as much as the other team. I think that there's a line in which they feel that there's no coming back. And unfortunately, to be spoiled, this team has made some historical comebacks. Like when the way how we discuss Madrid, it's not on the same length that we discuss any other club. 2021, 21-22 season, for example. That's not repeating. Like, I'm sorry to say, but if
And
people
I'm not,
believe
and
on that,
I'm not anti that, Loconte, but I think part of the problem with Madrid players is this idea of falling back on remontadas are DNA. I'm like, yo, no, how many of you were here? You're not Cruz, you're not Modric, you're not Get. None of you, right? Vinny, yes. Rodrigo, yes. Jude, a little bit, yes. The rest of you have no DNA in that.
Hey,
None
who
of
likes
you,
to suffer? Hands
you've
up. You
done
like to suffer.
nothing, right? None of those guys have done any of that. So this idea that we're
yeah,
just
but they
Madrid
have to
will come
go
back.
through it. No?
Yes, but that's my
Look,
point is
my
Ramos did that
pushback
map.
on
Never
that
forget
with this
2013.
group is that
my point is you're right. You have to go through it, but not with the way they did against Atleti. Look, when we tied it up and was 2-2, and once Atleti scored again to go up 3-2, did anybody on that pitch look like remontada's coming? Not a soul on that pitch looked like it.
no, but I'll say this, right? Week before El Clasico in 2011, we were on what looked our best form in literally since I was alive. Cristiano Ronaldo comes out and he goes like, "Let's see him pitch," and we can. But that didn't happen again. We drew Bell and beat on Copa del Rey. It's a matter of, I'm not going to sit here and call all of these players like weak. They didn't show it. Whatever. The better team.
I'm not saying weak didn't show. No,
no.
Saying weak didn't show is not that. It's more what I'm pushing back on is the idea that once you sign on to Real Madrid, the remontada DNA just gets automatically injected into your veins. No, that's not how it works. Like you have to experience it. What happened in 2011? None of you were there in 2011, so none of you have any of that to draw on. So that doesn't count for you. You have to do your own thing. And to me, when things go bad for this team, nobody has shown
they need to go through it, right?
Yeah, like, but how many times? How many times you got to get your ass kicked?
This is where the Atleti game is going to show, right?
It should.
This is where the Atleti game is going to show.
It should.
It should.
Get it right. It should.
It should.
But this group of players hasn't shown us
what were the wounds of that game.
What were the what?
What were the wounds of that game, right? Have they just gone like, okay, we won every single game since? Or have they gone like, okay, I just can't get over that? Like, this is the difference between.
That's the question.
Because they have not won any games, if we really want to be honest. They have been challenged. Like, Villarreal is a big challenge. Getafe away is a big challenge. I noted it even on last week's show, post-game show, that Barcelona have scored one game on their last 5 meetings on that stadium. They beat Juventus as comfortably as it gets, literally, to the point where they even stopped playing. So it's more of like, what is on their head would be right. Are they like, okay, so Atleti beat us, but if I watch the film, it's nowhere near as bad as the final result shows, which is a fact. And I'm chill. We're good. Like, we're a good team. We're going to fall back to what we know to do, and that's it. Or are they going to be like, okay, that Atleti game just stinks. We need to get rid of that, that demon. And obviously, we're not going to get rid of it fully by beating Barcelona, especially a crippled one. But you're way more at peace with
it will go a long way. No, I think that's important, right? It's about mindset, right? I never call professional athletes weak or whatever, because you don't make it to this level by being weak. So that's just not a thing. My question is, again, when the adversity hits, is it pack up our bags and crumble, or is it no, we have to fight, right? Like, are we going to fight? Like, that's what I want to see. And again, this game will tell us. You mentioned something, Loconte, about the Juve game and how we won that. And if you look at our underlying stats, right? I know it's not Champions League, but we have by far, for the first 3 Champions League matches, the most shots of any team in the competition. By far. Not even close. All right. So my question is now,
will lead any offensive.
We create so many chances and shots, but we are not being clinical and efficient at the final ball and finishing. And is this a thing for us now where, look, I'd be happy that Barcelona beat the game where we figured that out and we scored fucking 7 goals. And right, that would be awesome. I would fucking sign me up for that every fucking day. I would take that, right? But is that something the team can draw inspiration from? It's like, damn, guys, we are doing what is necessary. We have to just put the ball in the fucking net.
I mean,
historically, we're a bad finishing team. If we want to be honest, historically, we are a bad finishing team. We're a high chance creation team, but
I was gonna say, except the 2 years we won the Champions League recently, where we had a player massively outperform their XG, right? And that kind of got us.
Oh yeah, but that's an outlier, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with you. Like that means, unless somebody goes superhuman, which the good part is,
I mean, when you're scoring a volley from a Ferland Mendy cross, I don't know what to say, bro.
Look, we got Mbappe, right, who is a clinical in front of net finisher. We have Vinny.
I mean, he scored a hat trick against them, for the love of God.
Correct. We have Jude Bellingham, who's an excellent box crasher. We have, right, we got Arda Güler, who's got a magical left foot. We've got guys who can put, Fede's got a thunder shot from out. We've got guys who can do the thing.
I got to see it, though. But we got to see it, though. Like, we have to see it because we're underperforming our XG.
I mean, look,
and it's been concerning outside of Mbappe for a while, by the way.
Outside of Supercopa, which I give Barcelona full credit for.
That's the one they waxed us in, 5-2. We got killed in that one.
We're literally facing a guy that smokes cigarettes at
outside
halftime.
of that game, right?
Like if we don't score on this goalie, this guy literally takes cigarette breaks at halftime. If you are the best athletes in the world, you cannot score on this goalkeeper. I'm going to be disappointed. All right. Like, what are we doing here?
I mean, Boy is a pretty good goalkeeper. But I'll say this, like from last season, yes, they beat us 4 times. It's 4-0, technically. Which game outside of Supercopa didn't feel winnable?
That's true. Yeah, Supercopa was the only one because we had the lead in the Copa del Rey final, and then
Copa del Rey we would have won if Ancelotti just went like, Rudiger, actually you're injured, and he could actually track back. We would have won that game. Momentum was in our side. Game completely changed. And guess what? If you win that game and you go 2-0 up that early in La Liga, you won both because now you're confident. But in La Liga, you had zero confidence. You're 2-0 up. To quote Toni Kroos, it never felt like they were going to win it. 2-0, back on that low block that we don't even know how to make one. And let them play, right? But now it's a bit different because if on this team you're going with that with that Copa del Rey final and last La Liga game type of plan where Mbappe just kind of gets to enjoy himself, I'm sorry, but they're not winning. Like, it doesn't matter. This is not about mentality. This is just about the fact that you have a better tactical ingredient to deal with them.
Mbappe figured out that high line after the first match. Like, and you could even potentially argue he kind of maybe even figured it out in the first match, because if we go back to all 8 of those offsides, some were egregious, but others I'm like, sure. So anyway, I have a tactical question for you, Loconte. So Rafinha was a big part of triggering their press and why it was so effective last year and causing the turnovers. Rafinha's not playing. Is that an area where it makes it easier for us to break out of their press and then get ourselves in some numerical advantages down the pitch?
Makes it easier for us to press rather than for them. Because you can just pin Valverde and Balde, and you just have numerical superiority immediately. You can pin Valverde and Balde, and Balde is not beating Valverde physically. So already that's your advantage. When Rafinha is playing, you just know that he's very good at pockets of space and playing that pass. Fermin Lopez, to his credit, you have tweet from me from 2 years ago, incredible between the lines player.
Yes.
But the reason why I picked that midfield is the fact that these guys are not going to let you receive between the lines. End of story. These guys are not going to let you receive. That's the truth. Vast difference between an El Clasico with Tchouaméni in midfield and without Tchouaméni is huge. Because Barcelona relishes on that between the lines action. And Tchouaméni takes that away from the game completely. You can't pin Tchouaméni because, well, guess what? You have center backs not even being challenged. Therefore, Madrid can spread across the pitch as much as they can. You pin Tchouaméni, okay, you just gave us an advantage because you're losing a player on your action.
Yep.
So basically, he becomes a catalyst of the fact that, okay, there's no entrance between the lines here. It's like, it's a no-go. It's not just Barcelona here, it's every team. If you take Tchouaméni outside of the Madrid's 11 in a team that wants to hold the ball, you'll immediately feel the holes. Immediately, you'll see how easily everything gets bypassed.
Yeah.
It's very easy for me to sit here and be like, okay, but Tchouaméni is a little bit slow at rotating with the ball. A lot of times, if you pay attention, that's actually him being instructed to do so. Because Alonso really wants that quick switch to happen when the ball gets to Arda or a more proficient vertical passer. So Tchouaméni is always asked to, okay, one more touch. Okay.
So when you have it, make the safe pass, but when Arda or these other guys get it, they can make the vertical pass, the aggressive pass,
yes.
right?
Basically, he's asked to play it safer, not that he can't play it. You see it with France. Like, this guy did it a month ago. It's not that he's changing day and night, and somehow he's losing that ability when wearing our shirt. But the difference here is the fact that Deschamps goes like, hey, you know what? We have Mbappe. Teams are less prepared. Just throw a ball, a vertical ball, and Mbappe is going to get to the end, which more often than not happens. Yeah. Alonso goes like, well, these teams have a lot more reps. These teams are better prepared. I don't want you to take risks because I don't want you out of position. I want you to protect me. And that's why he said Tchouaméni is going to be the cornerstone of this whole team. And that's what we're saying.
All right, folks. It is mailbag time. So, we're going to go rapid fire through these mailbag questions. First up, we got a question here from Abdul Malik. He said, oh, no, sorry, not Abdul Malik. My bad. From Divanish Raul. He says, what are your thoughts on Lamine Yamal's comments from yesterday? Those of you that don't know, Lamine Yamal was on a YouTube show talking about the Kings League. And he said about a team in the Kings League, yes, they rob, they complain. They do things just like Real Madrid do. See, these Barcelona dudes, they can't go 5 seconds without mentioning Real Madrid. Talking about something completely has nothing to do with Real Madrid, they bring up Real Madrid. What do you guys think? Not much to do about nothing. That's just how they are. Always talking about Madrid.
Yeah, well,
I mean, you can go through this.
We have to understand Lamine Yamal is 18 years old. All of us, when we were 18 years old, probably said a lot of things that we regret or may have not put much thought behind at the time. I think he's going to learn over time as he ages, because we have to give him, I think, some leeway there. As much as I love to troll Lamine and all his comments and everything that comes about the hustle hard package, I'll give the kid the benefit of the doubt in this case that he's young, he's going to learn. You can't let it rattle you. I think there are far bigger things that our team need to show on the field before they can even begin to try to speak back. And until you do that, you really got nowhere to really say anything, because what he said inherently isn't exactly false. I mean, the part about us robbing things is, but the fact that he said that they did beat us 4-0 in our ground and we literally did nothing about it is true. So for me, I hope the team responds on the field and puts an ass whooping in, rather than go back and forth about some 18-year-old's comments on the biggest streamer in Spain's show, in which they ask him his thoughts about Real Madrid. So
is that what it was? The biggest streamer show in Spain?
Ibai, like in terms of football Twitter, like
Ibai,
like football in Spain and Twitch, like he's number one. Like all the entire Real Madrid locker room knows him. He hangs out with all of them, right? He knows kids, so he's in those circles.
All right, Abdul Malik's question now. We kind of touched on this, but let's kind of put a fine point on it. He was asking how Real Madrid should play on Sunday. From all the Barca games he's watched, where they struggle, it's because constant pressure is put on the ball and we're not made to feel comfortable. That backs up the Opta analyst stat, right? In the games they struggled, they didn't put together a bunch of sequences of 10+ passes, right? Less than 3. And the ones they were fine in, they had 15+. So our press can do that, but it struggles at times. So again, let's put a fine point of that. how should we play Loconte? How often should we press, right? Like, and when we don't see, this is what I think. I think we might do it early to try to go up and get that first goal, maybe even go up 2-0, and then maybe, all right, enough of that shit, right? And settle into a more mid-block, right? Maybe bring our line back a little bit, right? Just to absorb a little bit. What say you?
Football is all about traps, right? We might in a low block and just let them play, make them feel comfortable, and then you just hit them. We don't know. It's all about traps due to the margins of how small the sport has.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, in normal circumstances, you don't want to let them circulate because you don't want to be suffocated because they're very good at clogging the space. But again, we have seen a pivot or their pivot be stretched a bit too much. A lot has to do with the aforementioned Lamine Yamal's turnovers. So I don't want to get really much deeper than that, but I think that there will be sequences where this team is going to press heavily, like we saw against Juventus, but sequences where they're going to have to temper it down and wait for their midfield or Lamine to get the ball before actually activating into a more aggressive style. I don't think that they're going to let Barcelona play as 11. I think that their whole point is maybe let Pedri, maybe let Lamine Yamal get the ball and just block and don't leave passages of play. It's more about focus. It's more about cohesion. And I think that so far they've shown us that they're pretty good at communicating what they're going to do.
Yep. And this ties into sort of the same question, Loconte, which is, should Alonso start Trent, Carvajal, or continue with Valverde? I think we all say Valverde. I don't think he's going to start Trent or Carvajal. Valverde's going to start. And then, should Yamal be doubled up on the left flank while defending?
No.
Right.
No.
Because
once you need a help defender, but no.
Yeah.
Once you draw two, that run, like you saw with Kalulu, Vini wasn't tracking back, to be honest, but you want to avoid that Kalulu thing with Koundé or Eric Garcia, whichever Hansi Flick decides to play. So, no, you let him 1v1. You block the passages of play, and once he starts to enter centrally, you kind of hope that Camavinga just spider tackles him, and there you go.
I love this question because it ties into what we talked about before about the amount of shots and chances we create. Real Madrid in the Champions League, their XG is consistently over 3, but their finishing is not good. Does this high XG really mean they're in control of their matches? And should we expect this to correct itself soon with a 3+ goal explosion in an upcoming game?
I actually saw this question and I actually had notes for this. So I have notes for this. XG does not mean control. XG means the quality of chances created.
Correct.
So your expected goals were at 3. Whether you score that or not, it's a different story. It's mostly the measurement. How you assert dominance on the pitch is by the top of it, who dominating which territory of the pitch and where they're coming more successful. Normally, for example, like between the lines, which team is more successful at entering them, because that is going to lead into a more that is going to give the other players more options to tuck in or move on the inside, because that creates access of space for them to do so. So with that being said, XG does not mean domination, but XG means that this team is creating chances at very
high level.
Unsustainable, I want to say volume, because 3 XG per game is just unsustainable. Like there was every goalkeeper against us at this point has made 8 or more saves on Champions League. That's 3 game sample, but 3 XG per game, it's unsustainable. Necessarily, for the second part of that question, it was, does that mean we're going to score 3 goals in the next game? No, normally with 3 XGs, you have scored 5 or 6, because XG is not calculated by 1 chance, 1 goal. Naturally, a penalty, which is the highest chance of scoring, has 0.75. So 0.25 is still left over there as a metric for you to miss it, which does happen. There are a few missed, opportunities where the ball is just going across and you just put it in, which would be kind of considered at higher XG, but those are very rare. Normally, that goes to show to you that the shot creation has been absolutely ridiculous. Well, you have the number 10, which is Mbappe, 10 on the back, who's tends to be pretty ridiculous at shot generation. Literally ridiculous. Like, he's the only one besides Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi that have seen create chances at such volume on every single game basis. And numbers back that up.
Yep.
Yes, big chances missed, for example, are looking pretty bad, but as always in football, the more you're there, the more you're going to miss.
Correct. So I think we'd rather argue on that side, right? Let him create as many chances as possible because the law of averages says at some point they're going to start going in, right? And we're going to get some bounces to go our way. So we keep generating high chances and just shots in general. Get the ball at the net. Good things happen. So we'll take that.
That's why I tweeted last year when people were freaking out about Mbappe, right? Because he wasn't scoring at the level, but he was missing chances a lot. I went like, yeah, this guy has the highest XG in Europe by far. Like, just no shot that this guy doesn't score. Lo and behold, golden boot at the end.
And he still scored 40-something goals last year in a down year. Right. And he's obviously playing much better this year. All right, this last question, we'll all tackle it. How concerned are you guys about how vulnerable the team is to counterattacks? Do you think the team needs more presence in the box when they're in the final third? And do you think the team can finally match the intensity of our rivals in the big matches? So let's start with the counterattack one, because at least once a match, sometimes twice or three times, we are vulnerable because our line's high, right? And oftentimes we get away with it because the people who are doing those final two passes are not the most technically sound players, right? So we get a little lucky there. Well, we're going to be playing a team on Sunday that's got a couple technically sound players so that if we get beat over the top, I don't know that they're going to waste too many chances, right? So is that a concern for you? Go ahead, Xavier.
Yes, it is a major concern of mine. Absolutely. Again, whether it's Fermin, Casado, it really doesn't seem to matter who Barca ends up starting out there against us. They find a way to pass through our line, break the supposed high press that we have. As long as Mbappe and Vinny are there, I still don't believe that it's a coherent press. I still believe there's ways to bypass it actually quite easily. And we saw Barca exploit it time and time and time and time again. I hope these players learn specifically between those two to cover that gap, because everyone else can do their jobs in that press in terms of our midfield, in terms of the counter press. But if those two aren't fluid, you're going to see the ball go to Kubarsi. You're going to see Mbappe fake press it, and it's going to create that quick space that Frankie's going to drop into and then bypass our line, just like Pedri does on the other channel. So for me, I hope that they've learned, they have the motivation for 90 minutes and understand that this halfway pressing that we've been kind of doing against other teams between those two has worked out because we have the inherent quality to beat those teams, even though we barely beat Juve. I really think that if I watch Hansi Flick utilize Kubarsi and Frankie as essentially dummies for our press, and we just create that space behind them for Pedri to just pick out the next pass to Lamine, whoever it is. We saw Casado even pick out that pass by having that same amount of space. And that's just my concern when you have Vinny and Mbappe. It looks great against 90% of teams. But when we're talking about this tier of opposition and quality, they know that both of them are not going to commit for an extended period of time to pressing collectively. Those two in particular, there's going to be a weakness between the two. And whether it's Vinny taking too long to press and giving up after 20 minutes, or whether it's Mbappe not wanting to inherently put the center backs under any sort of pressure throughout the game, I don't know how we fix that gap in the short term. Personally, I think this is a great time to start somebody like, call me crazy, a Gonzalo that's at least going to make Kubarsi uncomfortable on the ball, right? Listen, rock with me here. My issue is I want Mbappe to put them under pressure because Kubarsi's a quality passer at center back, better than any center back we've played so far in possession. And he's going to kill us over the top.
And he's even better when he gets to stand and do what he wants with no pressure, right? As anybody is. If they have no pressure,
I'll push back on
that's
this.
why we give up
no
goals
attacker has won possession more than Mbappe this season.
Yes, he's been good. No, I think he's just saying, like, look, like,
no
the question.
No attacker has won possession more than Mbappe.
the question I have here is, this is the kind of game where we can't be wasteful with our chances, right? Because we're going to get them, but we can't waste and not convert, because they're going to convert their chances. Like, they're more technically sound than most teams we play. So we can't be like, oh, we had 3 chances and fuck, we didn't, because they get 1 or 2 of those. They're going to probably score 1 out of those 2, if not 2 out of 2, right? Because they're just better. They're just better than teams we faced in that final third. So we have to take advantage of our chances too and score when we have the opportunity to score.
Yes and no. Like, if you want, like, that was one thing, right? Ancelotti last year versus Xabi this year. If you're going to be a high press team, you need to make peace with the fact that you're going to give up chances. That is the reality of it. Pep Guardiola faces it. Any team, Bayern Munich faces that. Any team that wants to press high are going to be caught at some point of the game. There's no game where you can control 100% of it. The reason why Pep Guardiola even won a Champions League is because he gave up on that ideology of press, keep the ball, because he understood that the momentum can shift at any point. So you're going to naturally be prone to transitions, and some of them there is just like you can't prevent them, because that's the nature of the sport. You can't prevent everything. You mitigate it, but you can't prevent it. My cue of concern would be how often Kalulu entered our box against Juventus, or the fact that we were about to concede against Nijmegen Getafe, because the players just clocked off completely. Those are my concerns. But if we're talking strictly El Clasico, well, both teams are going to give these up. And Barcelona are aware, or have shown to be way more likely to give up these. And they have won games of the margins, which naturally they shouldn't have. For example, the Girona game, which was just last week, should not have won that. Even if you're looking at the underlying metrics, it does not bond well for Barcelona. They should not have won the Levante
they've given up more big chances than any team in La Liga this year. That's a fact.
Girona had 10 shots. 6 of them were big chances.
Yep.
So
all
let's
I'm
keep
saying
that
is on our end, we have to score when we get big chances. That's what I'm saying, because I think they're going to score when they get chances.
They're going to miss a few. Bad news.
Oh, yeah, I know. Of course we will. Yeah,
because it's a nature of how we play.
But to your point, this is a low margin sport, right? This is a low margin sport. So if they score on 2 out of their 4 big chances, and we score on 1 out of 5 of our big chances, guess what? We lost 2-1, right? Like, we had more big chances.
Yeah. I mean, there's that. Like, we kind of tried that thing against Juventus too, right? That we always rely on that. It's mostly of, yes, chance conversion. I think chance conversion was way more important against Juventus than Barcelona due to the players' fatigue and rest. I don't see Barcelona being able to contain this team at point, so they're going to give them up at consistent basis. So I don't worry about being outscored because they're clinical and we're not. But my worry is the fact that, are they going to clog off? Like we saw against Juve, we saw against Getafe, there's a clock off period with this team. Are they going to clock off? Is the fatigue going to hit because they have had to play such 2 grueling matches to get to this? Is that going to hit? Then what's the plan B if that does hit? Because sometimes it seems that the plan B is basically substitutions. And you can't make a substitution on 30th minute. So are you going to give up the game there and hope to be alive by the whole time? There are a lot of small things that I do take into consideration when I predict an El Clasico or I think about an El Clasico. This is, I don't know, like, this is the most confident I've felt since Xavi's Barcelona, which is not a long time ago, but they're just as dejected. They're not as good. For example, like here, I'm going to push back. How you described them, I was like, oh, wow. And peak Brazil in here. Like, they're not that. Like, they make a lot of simple mistakes. a lot of mistakes, which often lead to really bad reads. Naturally, I'm going to say this season, I said it last season. They're not that great of a team. That is the truth. They have glaring weaknesses which can easily be exploited, and Madrid should and could have exploited last year. What Ancelotti decided to do was a completely different thing. Let's keep things in mind. I'm all in for talking about mentality. You got outcoached on the games. And that's the truth. You got outcoached because you simply did not want to take that game on head on. And we saw Courtois complaining about it. We saw a lot of players complaining about the fact of how we were approaching the games. This season is completely different. This season, this is a team that is going out there to match a team 50-50 in every game. Derby Madrileño didn't pan out, but it was a 50-50 decision. And that's what I like. I like the fact that
game, right? Got down 2-0 and fought back 2-2, right? It was a brand new game.
I mean, we
had a chance.
It's just that the margins, are we actually going to be the team that was like last season on the first game where we're dominating for 60 minutes?
Right.
And Mbappe, as you guys said, broke the record. But let's keep in mind, he also missed 2 1v1s on top of it. Camavinga had that chance. We could have finished that game way before they scored. But fatigue kicks in.
We didn't.
At that point, you need to make sure that you have a plan B. You need a plan B here. It's not
All
a
right,
game that you approach without a plan B.
It is prediction time. Xavier, I will start with you. What happens on Sunday?
3-2 win.
Real Madrid. Loconte, what say you?
High scoring game, 2-0.
Ooh, look at that. Just to be different, because I was going to go 3-2 as well, I will say Madrid 3-1. All right, folks.
Oh, okay.
You are,
so I'm the only clean sheet guy.
You're the only clean sheet guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they're gonna. I mean, listen. I'm worried. Listen, I might have PTSD from last year. I don't know, but I'm like, mother.
A minimum 3 every game last season against them. So yeah, I need to see it first.
All right, folks. We'll be back on Sunday.
I mean, they went from letting 4 to having a clean sheet. So how about I reverse that?
And they kept the clean sheet, though, but they kept them.
I would love it. Listen, nothing would make me happier than, someone said this in the past. I don't remember where, but it's like when they play us, they're down to try to embarrass us 5 or 6 or 7-0, right? That's just how they play. Whereas we're happy to win 3-2 or 2-1 or 1-0 or whatever. I would just for once, if we have that in us, fucking just embarrass these MFers. Just one time.
Now blame Carlo. Blame Carlo for telling the ref to blow the whistle. Never forget. We had the chance to do it. Carlo, ref.
Just do it. Just make these Kool-Aids feel like dog shit. Just do it. Just really.
It was like if you were watching NBA game 1 or night 1, it was Houston. It was the Houston Rockets against OKC. KD has no timeouts left. He's just sitting there with the ball trying to call timeout. That was Carlo in the 93rd minute when we were about to score a 6th goal in Barcelona to the side ref. Like, Carlo, what are you doing? What are you doing, boss?
We'll see what happens Sunday, folks. As always, thank you all for tuning in. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends. If you want the audio-only version tomorrow because you want to dive back into some of the tactical stuff, we're on Apple and Spotify, so you can hear that. And until Sunday, take care, guys.
Bye.